Hey, what is up, everyone? So the other day, me and a friend of mine were playing Sea of Thieves, and we were talking about the grindiness of Sea of Thieves in certain accommodations. Now, I'm someone that doesn't really like grindy type of activities in the game. I don't really want to spend all my time doing a certain activity that I may not actually enjoy doing, but only doing it to complete some, arbitrary objective, essentially. But for him, he actually really enjoys those challenges and likes tasks that take a long time to complete because it gives him something to work towards. I don't think either of us are right or wrong in this opinion. We just come to the game for different types of things. But I've been trying to think about how do we actually address this because if we look at both season 16 and season 17, we have kind of opposite sides of the coin with this issue. With season 16, a lot of people thought that a lot of the accommodations, like the selling the Banished Skulls and other stuff like that, were just too high of a grind to complete. Whereas on the flip side, when we got to season 17, it feels like almost an overreaction to season 16, where now the accommodations are so easy to complete that just normal playing of the game made you be able to finish it within at least, I would say, 2 weeks. And for people that, are actually trying to complete these, you probably could get it finished within a day. Now, while I do think there is still a middle ground that could be found between the two, I don't think it needs to be either one of those sides. I was trying to think of a different solution to this issue. So what we used to have in Sea of Thieves is we used to have like progressive cosmetics for certain trading companies and other stuff in the game. So think of stuff like the Reaper cannons, where when you're a very low level Reaper, you have kind of just a basic looking cannon, and then as you progress, that cannon becomes more and more, elaborate and interesting looking. We have this for a lot of stuff. We even saw, I think maybe the last time we saw some cosmetics with this, I might be wrong on this, but I believe the last time was with season 8, where we had the progressive figureheads for both the Servant of Flame and the Guardians of Fortune factions, where as you progress in those factions, you could unlock different levels of the same figurehead with just more and more elaborate designs to them. I feel like this could be a solution to fixing the grindiness of certain accommodations, because I feel like it might be a way to make everyone happy in some way. So here's what I would suggest. Essentially, you make a low tier cosmetic at whatever the minimum requirement is for whatever the accommodation. Let's use the Banished Skull from season 16 as an example. So let's say we have a cosmetic that we want to attach to that accommodation. And let's say for the very lowest level, we have either 5 or 10 Banished Skulls sold. I feel like that's low enough that the people that maybe aren't as interested in like grinding a certain achievement inside of Sea of Thieves, they would see that and say, okay, 10's not too bad, I can do that. And really, that's not too hard of a grind to get to. And that would unlock you the lowest level of that reward. But then we'd still have grades after that that unlock better versions of that cosmetic. So say, you get to 20 or 25 and that will unlock the next version of that cosmetic. And there's two ways that they could do this. I don't expect them to make progressive cosmetics for, all the different accommodations and the rewards and stuff. I feel like that's just overkill and asking too much of the game. Now, I feel like ideally, I would like to see maybe one of these type of progressive cosmetics that are similar in vein to like the figureheads and the cannons and stuff that we just talked about, maybe once per season. I think that would be, a good standard to have. And this would be tied to whatever the big key feature of the season is. So for example, with season 17, it could be completing the Smuggler Route Run Voyage however many times. And the more that you complete, the better that cosmetic would look. So that's one option that they could do. Basically have a cosmetic where each of the cosmetics are technically, iterations of the same one, but, in terms of the actual design work, I feel like it takes a lot more work to do those because they are essentially different designs. Now, what they could do to help with some of the other cosmetics, though, and to keep that grind still there for the players that want to have whatever the highest level is to unlock so that they can show off that they have something that, is hard to get, but also make it so that, the players that don't want to do that grind can still at least achieve something. We could basically have it so we have reskins of that same cosmetic, but with different like color variations for the higher levels. This is similar to what Fortnite does with their super styles, where once you finish the battle pass for Fortnite, you basically have like levels afterwards that you can keep unlocking so that you have an incentive to keep playing the game and keep progressing, and you can unlock additional styles for your existing outfits. I feel like this is a really good way to incentivize players to, at least try to get the original skin, but then if you want to have something that you can show off to show how far you got in the season, you can have those additional styles. So while everyone might have the same cosmetic, different people have different styles of that cosmetic, which also can help with a little bit of the customization of Sea of Thieves, where we could have, different hats or swords or whatever that are, similar to each other, but are somewhat different from each other, so then it makes every pirate a little bit more unique. I think that's another way that can make the game a little bit more interesting. Now, for another example of how this could work, we could look at with the new disguise that we got for Season 17, which is the new gunpowder barrel disguise that coincides with the new gunpowder barrel being added for Season 17. Now, this is the first new disguise we've gotten since Season 14, so I was really excited for this cosmetic. It was really the only cosmetic that I was really excited for with this new season. But what if we took this same idea with progressive rewards tied to different levels of a certain accommodation or just whatever kind of challenge you have in the game, and we applied it to this? Now, you might think on the surface this might be a little bit more difficult and it might not make sense. We don't really want different color variations of that gunpowder barrel disguise. That wouldn't make sense. But what we could do is we have multiple different gunpowder barrels inside the game. So what if we made the lowest level of that combination, make it just like regular gunpowder barrel? And then as you progress and you sell more of those, the new gunpowder barrels, or maybe you have it tied to something else, maybe like how many times you blow up the keg on a ship or something like that. Could be whatever. But then the next one would be like the stronghold keg. And then the one after that would be a Athena stronghold keg. And then the final one would be the new gunpowder keg. And that would give you something to keep progressing that would actually be an interesting type of grind. It would be something that I would actually try to do because I think it would be worth it to get those rewards. But I also think that if I'm unlocking stuff along the way, I will feel much better about the grind that I'm doing instead of having to, work very hard all the way until the end and finally get one reward that, might be either average or just okay. This one especially would have me interested in it, but just in general, the kind of idea that I'm going by is if you're unlocking stuff along the way, I think it makes that grind feel a lot better because you're getting a little bit of reward as you go along rather than all the reward being weighted all the way until the end. And something that we haven't really mentioned yet is that it gives Rare the opportunity, if they see something that, a lot of people are grinding through either very quickly or people are more interested in, they could always add more rewards to it later on. Similar to what they're doing with the Chest of Fortune. Every season the Chest of Fortune gets new rewards tied to it, but we could do this for, other combinations. So whether it's banished schools, so maybe either the banished school might be very popular and, people are grinding through it very quickly, or maybe they want to incentivize more people to keep doing the banished school after season 16 is over, so they add more rewards tied to higher and higher levels. I think these progressive rewards could be beneficial to all Sea of Thieves players, those that don't really like heavy grinds and they just want to, unlock something for their bit of work that they did, as well as the people that want to spend a lot of time grinding and trying to complete something. I think it could be very beneficial for the game if they kind of adopted this mentality with cosmetics and the rewards tied to accommodations. Now, I don't think this is like a major problem with the game. I think, sometimes the grind for certain accommodations are a little bit overkill, and sometimes they're not enough, like we saw with Season 16 and Season 17. But I feel like there's both sides of the player base that, there's people that want to have something that's really long to grind for, whether it's like the Chest of Fortune accommodations, the banished schools from last season, or other stuff like that. There's players that do really enjoy that type of aspect to the game. But then there's also players, and I would say I'm including myself in this, where if they see too high of a goal to reach, they're not even going to attempt to try to get it because it's such a high level that it's not even worth really attempting it. I feel like if we have cosmetics that have basically different progressions to them, it would make both sides happy. But I'd be interested to hear what y'all think about this topic in the comments below. It was just something that I was kind of randomly thinking about and I thought it'd be worth talking about in a video. So I'd love to hear what y'all think in the comments, but if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you have to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.